Her name is
Vanessa.
She started like every rookie, drowning in grueling tests, relentless interviews, and thorough psychological evaluations, clawing her way through challenges designed to break her. She fought through the academy with fierce determination. When she hit the streets, it was a trial by fire, armed standoffs, high-speed chases, split-second decisions that define careers. Every instinct she's honed and every scar she's earned has led her to this pivotal night. How she handles this situation will define her not just as an officer, but as a leader. Everything comes down to what she does next.
Wanna dance?
Today's episode is dedicated to the introduction of Officer Vanessa Shelley. Trust me when I say that this one scene has given us a lot to unpack. For instance, how this movie's silly little plastic badge could have been a powerful emotional symbol. It's gonna be showtime for the Fazbear 4 and for some awkward exposition. But first, we'll try to figure out who's more suspicious. The nervous security guard with a bloody wound, or the eager police officer with her unbelievable beat. Go! Greetings, savvy viewers. Welcome back to the Five Nights at Freddy's walkthrough movie review here on Everything is Mid. Episode 9, Officer Blondie. Officer Blondie's baffling beat. We jump back into the chaos of Mike's second night on the job at Freddy's. This night has already been a real whirlwind.
You're saying it weird. Why are you putting so much emphasis on the H?
First, he has a nightmare where he's attacked by a hook. And then, the creepy kid goes full jump scare on him. To top it off, the music suddenly blared to life on its own. And I could swear I spotted Foxy lurking in the shadows. Good thing Mike reset the building's power to sort it all out. But then, he checks the security cameras and sees this. For a mostly destitute, troubled young man, Mike could do much worse than to find a seemingly capable, good-looking, and friendly woman just showing up on his doorstep in the middle of the night. Though that young woman working at the mall seemed pretty friendly as well. She didn't seem like she would have minded too terribly if he had asked for her phone number. She even knew Abby by name. Maybe he could talk her into being a babysitter on credit. She doesn't need the money anyway, she's got a job. And that job isn't working for Aunt Jane either, like some people. I'm looking at you, Max. She works at the mall. Oh, yeah, well, then again, she might have changed her opinion of Mike. Yeah, well, anyway, let's just hope Mike doesn't mess this one up.
Starting to think maybe he fell asleep on the job.
How did she know? Careful, Mike. This one's savvy and friendly. One look at Mike, and this officer wants him to call her Vanessa. First Mall Girl, then Max, and now Vanessa. Seriously, what is it with the women in this town? They really seem to go in for the rundown, broke, and unshaven type. Who knew Mike would be such a ladies' man? Am I right? As if Mike doesn't have enough problems, now he's bleeding. Creepy Kid's dream attack somehow left him with a real-world injury. Oh, and if you haven't already, check out the previous video in this series, where we dive deeper into that attack, and the vague implications of Foxy lurking around in the shadows when it happens. Anyway, as if that wasn't weird enough on its own, Vanessa invites herself in, saying she knows where they keep the first aid kit? Well, that's odd. Why would she know where the med kit is here in an old abandoned building? Why would she know that? Because why?
You seem to really know your way around the place.
Well, Freddy's is on my beat. I like to stay well informed.
Because it's on her beat? I mean, seriously. Well, lucky for Mike, in between reading the New York Post and the Wall Street Journal to stay informed, Bachelorette number 3 here is also keeping track of where all the Band-Aids are hidden in every abandoned building because it's on her beat. I mean, come on, there have to be like hundreds of places on her beat. Okay. To be fair, this line would have been ridiculous if it were meant to be true. But in reality, Officer Blondie is just trying to skirt over the issue because, spoilers, she doesn't want to get into the real reason that she's intimately familiar with the restaurant. That will come later. And don't you worry, my savvy viewers. We'll remember to address it then because we made a note of it today on the big board. While I'm sure Mike's grateful for the help, we here at the EIM Editorial Offices can't help but wonder what's really going on with Vanessa. And as the scene continues to unfold, her behavior will only add to the mystery. That's why we're noting it here, so we can circle back and explore it further when the truth comes to light. The weird thing? Vanessa does mention that she really loved this place as a kid. So if you're gonna make up a story about knowing your way around, why not lead with that? Doesn't "I used to come here a lot as a kid" make way more sense than pretending she has knowledge of the medkit because this building is on her beat? Sorry, this is a major digression on a fairly minor quip. What really matters is that Vanessa's backstory is now up on the big board. So, Officer Blondie shows off her detective skills because obviously observation is kind of essential in her line of work. She notices that Mike's eyes are bloodshot, his heart's pounding, and oh right, there's this pretty serious wound. Naturally, Mike's all, "It's been a weird night." Fair enough, it has been a weird night for Mike, but that's hardly gonna ease a law enforcement officer's suspicions, right?
Sounds like Freddy's.
Oh wait, it is. Huh. I guess that is good enough for her. I guess this is the format shift. Vanessa goes on to say that this place gets to people, and that's one of the reasons she believes Mike is going to quit. Wait, what? Apparently the security hires never last. Yeah, well, based on the opening scene of the movie, we know that the last security hire met his fate in the bear chair. But we can't assume all of the security guards are getting killed, can we? Maybe others get freaked out and run off before they can get killed. I mean, that makes sense. But they don't run off to another city and live underground. You run from the psycho, and then you go to the police. We still don't have any real indication why the previous security guard was even killed in the first place, aside from the fact that he's in a horror movie, and horror movies got a horror. But surely there's a reason, and surely we'll get to that at some point, right? Anyway, Vanessa's odd familiarity with Freddy's, her cryptic remarks, and her too casual approach to this curious suspect makes Vanessa come off as even more suspicious than the wounded, bleeding, bloodshot, and unshaven Mike. Is she really helping out, or actually hiding something? Or maybe both? One thing's for sure, there's gotta be more to her story, and that's why our suspicions are hitting the street when it comes to Officer Blondie and her baffling beat. Vanessa's vexing vibes. Up until now, Vanessa's been acting a little suspicious, but as the story brings in FNAF's iconic animatronics, her behavior shifts from sus to fuss. Yeah, it kind of works. I'm keeping it. You'll see what I mean. Officer Blondie asks Mike if he's met them yet. Met who? We cut to Vanessa throwing switches. Arcade machines flicker on. The dining room lights up, and she tells Mike to prepare to have his mind blown. She hits the big red Showtime button. The curtains open. The Romantics 80s hit kicks in. Only that's not what happens. Instead, we get this awkward pit stop that stalls all the momentum. She and Mike wander into the next room, pick up their earlier conversation, and Mike presses her for more reasons he'll quit. Her answer? Questioning his life's ambitions, followed by the line that finally jolts both him and the audience.
Add to that the thing with those kids going missing.
What? Mike's "wah" makes sense. He never saw the pixel art prologue showing kids being taken. But our "wah" is different. We finally connect the creepy opening sequence to this moment, but we're left baffled by Vanessa herself. She patches wounds for a stranger, plays cryptic prophet, drops missing kids like it's small talk, then pivots into party host mode? Is she on duty or on something else? Does she have a partner waiting in the car? Or did she just clock out mentally the moment she met Mike? The conversation literally goes, "You'll quit this job because it sucks. Also, the missing kids. Prepare to have your mind blown." Big red button, curtains rise, animatronic jam session ensues. To be fair, the reveal itself has one great shot, Mike turning as the curtains open. A genuinely effective directorial moment. But one shot doesn't redeem a scene that should have been a knockout transition. Instead, it's a clumsy mash of half-baked exposition and canned spectacle. Vanessa caps it all off by asking Mike if he wants to dance. At this point, her behavior is tipped from suspicious to implausibly cringe. So much so, the animatronics literally short-circuit in protest. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Without spoiling, yes, you could say she's got other stuff going on in her life right now. Fair. But here's the problem. Even once you do know what her whole deal is all about, this scene still doesn't add up. So, onto the big board she goes, because when we circle back, we're going to need receipts. What is Vanessa's motivation? It definitely makes you think twice when it comes to Vanessa's vexing vibes. From potential power to pointless prop. So everything after they left the office has been Vanessa hijacking the movie for her weird little emotional digression. But now, Mike is going to bring us back on track. Because if you know Mike like we know Mike, then you know his brain's been on pause ever since the comment about the missing kids. As soon as she said that, that's where his head's been living. And all this other Fazbear floor show wanna dance nonsense has been a distraction he's had to tolerate until now. Until this moment, when he can get her wandering mind back on track and ask about those missing kids. What missing kids? And then we get the exposition dump. Back in the 80s, it was big news. It's the reason Freddy shut down. Mike is clueless. Vanessa's incredulous. Now, between you and me, it does seem odd that a man who's obsessed with the abduction of his brother as a child wouldn't have been sensitive to news stories of the day where other children were also abducted. But okay, I suppose it's possible. However, it does get me thinking that perhaps we've missed another opportunity here. Mike is our protagonist, and Freddy Fazbear's is the antagonistic environment in which he must face and overcome his personal demons. Emotionally, his real issue is having to face and overcome the loss of his brother, and specifically, the helplessness he felt in that moment that has haunted him for his entire life, all the way into adulthood. But the physical environment of Freddy's will be where the emotional battle will be fought. So, that being the case, what was Mike's relationship with Freddy Fazbear's before taking the security job? Maybe he always wanted to go as a kid, but after the Garrett thing happened, his parents stopped doing fun things. Maybe he did go once before all of that, when he was really young, so he only has vague but positive memories of it. Like Mike's life in general, which has been split between the happy, idyllic past of having a family and the aftermath of misery that followed Garrett's abduction, Mike's relationship with Fazbear's could also be split into vague, positive memories of distant childhood and the ghoulish present of the bombed-out restaurant environment in which he now finds himself. Run down, broken, and abandoned, the way he feels about himself. But certain details could remind him of better times, when Freddy Fazbear's was still the magical place of his youth. Because at that time, his innocence was not destroyed yet by the incident. Imagine a moment in the earlier montage when Mike first arrives at work. He's seeing all the stuff in the place, and he pauses at the prize counter to pick up a dusty little prize, perhaps the chintzy toy security badge. He looks at it curiously. We see a quick blurry flashback of it being pinned onto him as a kid. A kid who's happy and proud to sport the badge. Or better yet, Garrett pins it on him. Sweet Garrett, in a sweet gesture. A happy moment between brothers. Then the distant, happy sounds of the bustling arcade fade as we flash forward to the dark and dingy present. Mike stares at the badge, and his expression changes to apathy. It's just a cheap piece of junk. We see the toy badge in his hand, and the yellow word security from his jacket, both prominently in frame, both the then and the now. He dismissively tosses it on the counter and moves on. Or better yet, Garrett wants the badge, but Mike takes it and pins it on himself. Ha! Little brother can't get it, it's his. Now Mike has no brother, but he has the badge. The stupid toy badge, meaningless plastic. Then later, he'll try to give it to Abby, and it will be him trying to undo his action from the past, when he didn't want to give the badge to Garrett. Only giving it to Abby's pointless because Abby doesn't care. For Mike, it's all just insult to injury now, reminding him that he's trapped, helpless in the present, unable to undo the past. By doing something like this, Freddy's is given an emotional significance, a meaningful connection to Mike's life, thus making both Mike and the restaurant feel more grounded in a shared world. I guess one could argue that even without a personal moment to connect Mike to Fazbear's, the broken environment of the abandoned restaurant still represents Mike's empty nightmare of a life. But I am of the opinion that it's not enough to have connections coincidentally occurring on the screen that may or may not create an emotional significance for the character. It's not enough for a writer to think to themselves, the restaurant's a metaphor for Mike's life. That's a great idea. When it's seen on the screen, we the audience won't know that this is the actual intention, unless the story reveals to us a concise connection that is clearly intentional. Despite the fact that there can be happy accidents that actually enhance the story, the actual craft of storytelling is intentional. Scenes are crafted, and the specific details are added and revealed intentionally with the purpose of enhancing a moment and leading the audience to where the storyteller needs them to go. If the storyteller is bumbling through a scene and just happens to make a connection or two along the way, that's not practiced craft. That's dumb luck. That's a first draft. The writer sees a potential opportunity and then tries to flesh that out in the next draft. I think I belabored the point more than enough, But I will wrap up this digression and this scene by pointing out that while Vanessa doesn't give Mike any more information here, she does end the scene by noting that Mike doesn't even have his badge. And she pins a toy badge on him. Now come on, wouldn't that moment have had much more gravity if they had done the bit I was suggesting? And if they had, and that was the setup, then Vanessa pinning a badge on him here would feel more like a payoff. A moment of genuine emotional gravity. Instead, the movie doesn't do any of that. Vanessa just plops a toy badge on him because he doesn't even have his badge. It's cute in the moment, but it's empty. Without setup, there's no payoff, just plot without story. The badge could have carried real emotional weight for Mike. On one hand, it's a bittersweet reminder of better times with Garrett, a symbol from a childhood memory that now only underscores the pain of his current helplessness. On the other hand, in the moment Vanessa hands it over, the gesture gains symbolic heft. She is an officer of the law, power, authority, and responsibility made flesh. And she's extending those qualities to Mike. To him, that cheap little plastic pin could have become a badge of hope, of purpose, of responsibility. Vanessa wouldn't know what it means, but we would. And that would make us all more invested in Mike's struggle. But since none of that was actually in the movie, we just got this tonally bizarre character introduction and mostly functional exposition scene. What we got was a lot of plot and not a lot of story. Which is why that potential power is just a pointless prop. The good news is, Mike has officially survived his second night at Freddy's. Remember back in episode 6 of this series, Mike's call to adventure? And if you don't, you should go check it out. He crossed through a reflection, leaving the ordinary world and entering the other. Now, by the light of day, the reflection works in reverse. It signals that Mike has returned, at least for the moment, to the waking world. He locks up as Vanessa pulls away in her police car, tossing out one of those lines that's supposed to sound reassuring, but lands like a riddle. Just do your job, and you'll be fine. Mike seems a little suspicious of the advice, and so are we. On the surface, it could be Officer Blondie trying to help, but it also plays like a cryptic warning from the fates themselves, spoken through her badge and uniform. If spelled out, it would go something like this. If you, Mike, can just look the other way and do your job, you'll get what you want. But if you tamper with the powerful forces you do not understand, you risk losing not only what you want, but also what you already have. That's the fork in the road for our hero. Comparative mythologist Joseph Campbell would say Mike's destiny isn't to sidestep danger, but to face it head on, and in doing so, discover not what he wants, but what he needs. And wouldn't you know it, the universe wastes no time testing that theory. Because while Mike's wrestling with warnings and doubts, Jeff and his merry band of cannon fodder punks are getting the call from Max. And soon they'll be cutting their way into Freddy's. The doors creak open, the stage is set, and the animatronics are practically licking their metallic chops. Which means next time, it's not cryptic warnings, it's carnage. You've been watching episode 9 in our Five Nights at Freddy's series, Officer Blondie. Tune in next time, when we take a look at Jeff's dumb plan. The animatronics awaken. And Max joins us for a bite. All this and more when the animatronics attack. We'll be seeing ya.